everyone, and welcome to IBM TV's coverage of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. I would like to introduce my fellow co-host, Jackie, giving us insight
Hello.
not only from the USA because she's a native North Carolinian just like me, but also insight on countries like Syria and other countries in the Middle East. And yeah, so Jackie, what can we expect from today, and what are the top headlines?
Thank you very much, Ade, for bringing me onto the show today. A few top headlines that I would like to point out is throughout the Olympics this year, it's been really competitive. Really, all in. We have a lot of countries that have been competing very intensely on today. And one of the top headlines that I wanted to point out is there is actually a refugee Olympic team that is also competing in the Olympics this year.
Wow,
And I wanted to point this out because I thought this was something really interesting to point out because this refugee Olympic team is actually 29 refugee athletes made up from 12 different countries.
that's
And
crazy.
so originally there were 56, 56 athletes that were going to be selected, but only 29 were selected. And
Hmm.
so I thought this was like really good because the whole point of this refugee Olympic team is to actually bring awareness to the 80 million displaced people in the world today, especially from other people from war torn countries, including Syria, Lebanon, other parts of the Middle East, and including Africa.
Hmm.
And what the refugee Olympic team did was immediately after the opening ceremonies, they walked in immediately after Greece. So the Greek team walked in first, and then
Ooh.
we had the refugee team walking in straight directly afterwards. And I thought it was like
Yeah.
really good because ultimately the goal of this team is they just want to like promote awareness and positivity, saying even if you are from like a war torn country like Syria or Iraq, you still have a place to come and compete in the Olympics this year.
Yeah, I think it sends out a very, very powerful message, and I love the feeling and the idea that you don't have to like even if your country is going through things out of your control, you can still compete for them and bring home a medal for them, which is great. Talking about bringing home a medal for your home country, I want to congratulate Yuto Horigome, which he won the gold medal, first ever gold medal for Japan in Olympic street skateboarding, which is a new category coming into the Olympics, which is very, very exciting. Along with skateboarding, we also have surfing, which debuted a few hours ago with men's surfing taking on the Tokyo waves of the Pacific. Very, very exciting stuff. And then we also have USA bringing home the first gold with Michael Phelps' protege,
Mm-hmm.
Chase Callis, bringing the first gold medal for Team USA a few hours ago in swim. And it's an amazing, to be honest, when we look at the medals, I think China leads in the medal tally,
Mm-hmm.
followed by Japan, then followed by USA. But considering how the games have been and how the games are going to be, it looks like those statistics could change up at any time.
Absolutely, for sure. And throughout the very competitive games, we've seen, the USA. It has its ups and downs for sure. It's lost here and there, and then it's redeemed itself. Here and there, as well as the fact that it's like for the USA team, it's also been very kind of on like the iffy side here and there a little bit because they do have positive COVID cases coming in during like the Tokyo Olympics. So of course that will within itself will give the USA, a very bad name when it comes to competing in the games. But definitely for sure we've had a lot of other competitive teams, especially for the medals, China and Japan.
Yeah.
So throughout the games that has always been something to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, and a quick introduction for our other co-host, Kirill, coming all the way from Serbia just to talk to us about the Olympics. Kirill, we have, like Jackie was saying, we have these problems not only with health, but to be honest, with heat as well coming out of Tokyo. A lot of athletes and spectators are complaining about the high temperatures, which are another thing to worry about. Thoughts on that? Any headlines you want to point out?
Well, it's always like that during the Summer Olympics. It's inescapable. Wherever you go that's suitable to host the Summer Olympics, it has to be at a certain temperature, and that temperature often gets grueling and difficult to compete in. We remember Rio 2016, even
Oh,
worse, temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It was brutal for these athletes to compete in. In Tokyo, it's slightly better, but not much better. And it's just something that these athletes, as athletes, have to adapt to.
exactly. A funny picture was some athletes had kiddie pools filled with ice water that they would dip into every now and then when they got too hot. But going back to
You've
the
got to
full
envy the
schedule.
swimmers.
Oh my gosh, most definitely. Yeah, they can just dip into that cool pool. But going back to the daily schedule for today, we have a lot of matches that are gold medal matches. Be that in coming back again. But today is day 2 of the Olympics, and we have a lot of matches that are gold medal. That includes cycling, diving, fencing, judo, shooting, and a myriad of others. Are there any games that you guys are watching in particular? Jackie and Carol?
I think you froze. Yeah. Yeah. In particular, I think that most definitely in regards for cycling and swimming, as you pointed out, those two sports within themselves are highly competitive. And oddly enough, what we've also seen throughout the Olympics is we also have a Syrian team that's
Mhm.
also playing surprisingly. And honestly, this caught me by surprise a lot. How we have a Syrian team competing as well, and so we even have we have this 12-year-old girl who's also competing in hand ping pong as well. And we
Wow.
also have a few people from also on the Syrian team who are also competing in the swimming games, the swimming portion of the Olympics and the gymnastics portion of the Olympics. And what
Mhm.
we also saw in the Olympics the other day was towards the end at night when all of the teams were wrapping up in the evening, the Syrian team were embracing each other. So I thought that was honestly like a really sweet touch, given the fact that here they are competing in a different country here in Tokyo, in Japan, of course, but still like they are still trying to bring some awareness and some recognition to their country.
Yeah.
Regardless that yes, we are a war-torn country. Here we are. Not much recognition has been brought to us, but we're still going to compete at a very high international level for the
Yeah.
entire world to see.
I love that. I love that. I love the feeling of camaraderie that you said, that picture that was taken of the Syrian team. But I mean, if you talk about your home country, I have to talk about mine. And unfortunately, we're doing okay. Today actually was tough with a tough loss against Australia and in men's basketball, with Australia beating us 84-67. But we redeemed ourselves. Our women's rowing team got the bronze medal in the women's single sculls. And we are also competing in, like you said, sports like badminton. We're competing today and tomorrow. Table tennis, we are also competing today. But we did lose yesterday for men's singles and table tennis. And then the women's are also competing against USA actually on Tuesday. So should be an interesting game to watch. Also, we have competitors in Taekwondo, vault, and gymnastics, which I am very excited to see.
Hey, it's. I honestly, for your home country, Nigeria, you guys beat the USA once in basketball a few times, so
We did it
I'm
once.
pretty sure you guys will be able to beat them again.
We can do it again.
Most
But
definitely, you guys will be able to do it again.
yeah, and I think this is a topic that we already touched on a little bit, but going back to like the medal tally, I just want to give a shout out to China right now as the leader with 9 medals in total, 5 golds. Yeah, medal tally. Going back to China, they have 5 golds, 1 silver, and 3 bronzes, making that 9 medals in total. And they've gotten those medals through men's weightlifting, diving, and like archery, shooting, and fencing, which is very impressive. And then Japan leads close behind them with 5 in gold as well, but 1 in silver with a total of 6. And those sports include um, excuse me, my bad.
Okay.
Judo, which is, I mean, that's amazing. If you're a Japanese player in Japan, bringing home the medal for judo, you have to give your hats off to the sport that's created in your own country. Skateboarding, which I already mentioned, which is amazing feat to see, and swimming. And then the U.S. is coming behind in third place with 2 golds, 2 silvers, and 4 bronzes. And in those sports that include equestrian, swim and dive, fencing, taekwondo, shooting, and skateboarding. So, do you think there would be any upsets when it comes to the medal tally, or which countries do you see coming on the come up when it comes to that?
I mean, in regards for the medals, I can say pretty much things will get. I think we will have some tension with other countries, including the USA, Russia, and Serbia, because these are highly competitive teams, along with the fact we have China and Japan. China, it ranks at this point number 1
Yep.
for the medals. And
Yeah.
so I think, we have countries like USA, Russia, and Serbia. They're kind of like the underdog,
Yeah.
trying to compete like for these medals to kind of come out on top at the same level as China, and how like they're ranking at number 1. So I definitely think since this is day 2, a lot of interesting series of events will be taking place to see if these underdog countries will be able to come out on top at the same level as them.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because, I mean, we talk about the Olympics, we talk about politicizing the Olympics, but there's this. It's weird to see these countries battle it out, and like we see these countries battle it out in economics, we see these countries battle it out in politics. Let's just not even talk about the tension between China and the U.S. and a whole myriad of different political situations. And it's just it's funny how these same countries are the ones that are neck and neck when it comes to the medal tally and representing their countries at the highest level. So, do you think that's a reflection on the world itself, or how do you even think that?
I mean,
is?
all good. In that regard, it's like we also have like the same issue with the U.S. and Iran. Iran is also competing in the Olympics this year. And so again, we have like the same exact tension going on between the U.S. and Iran, same as the tension going on with the U.S. and China. So again, there's all of that like tension and like that back and forth of going not only like neck and neck competing wise, but also because of like their tension of their geopolitical and political and economic past that they also share.
Yeah, and talking about the United States, I mean, that's, to be honest, after we talk about our home countries, the United States is the country to watch since they have so many players in so many different categories. And those categories come from a game that is live right now. They are on halftime break between France and the United States, where the U.S. leads 45-37 against France. And we have already won some gold medals, like I said, in the men's 400 in swimming, and a gold with the men's shooting earlier today, and even a bronze medal in skateboarding. Also, the bronze in 400 freestyle for men's, and Simone Biles, obviously number 1 in the women's vault. I mean, Simone Biles, she's just gonna keep winning. Like I don't understand. Like do you think there's anybody or any country even who can even topple the supremacy Simone Biles has over artistic gymnastics?
I mean, in all honesty, I don't think there's any country or any player that can top Simone Biles. She is highly competitive. She is highly trained, highly skilled, more than qualified, to even be participating in this year's Olympics.
Exactly.
So it is honestly a joy and a pleasure to be able to watch her, because she has so much skill and so much potential to be offering this year at the Olympics. So I think other countries and other players need to take note from her.
Exactly. I mean, even in the new sports, we have Team USA in softball for the first time, going past beating Australia to get into that gold medal game. Kira, what do you think about these new sports additions to the Olympics, and how exciting X Games sports originally, like skateboarding, attracted the youth and young people? Are you good on your end, Kira? Jackie, how do you think that new sports like softball and skateboarding attract the youth and also attract more viewership to the Olympics as well?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's like I think, every teen, absolutely loves skateboarding.
Yeah.
And as especially volleyball as well. I think those are one of the two highly favorable sports all teens love to play. Because I mean, like let's just admit it, teens love to like be reckless and kind of do like a lot of like reckless activities, and so they find that in skateboarding
Yeah.
where they can just like skate around recklessly. Probably they think they're about to hit something, and then they
No
slow
helmet.
down.
Yeah.
So all of those like high adrenaline rushes and stuff like that absolutely excite them. So
Yeah.
I think having the skateboarding games at the Olympics this year will kind of add to their excitement of that adrenaline rush. At the same time, I think it'll also motivate more teens that when they do become adults, that possibly they want to pursue possibly playing in the skateboarding games at the Olympics.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, you were talking about volleyball. I mean, what a day for volleyball yesterday and going into today. We have the USA team, which I love them. I know some of the girls. I texted them after the game and I was like, congratulations. um, with the USA team beating Argentina 3-0. And then we have the men's team competing today against ROC at 10:05 Eastern Standard Time. The
Mhm.
USA men's team yesterday won against France, also 3-0. And right now, we have set one against Brazil and South Korea. Brazil, a contender when it comes to women's volleyball, with not only their height, but their skill and power. It's always a joy to watch them. We also have today, Kenya won, Japan won against Kenya 3-0, and Turkey won against China in the women's pool 3-0 as well. And Serbia, if only Kirill was here, Serbia won against the Dominican Republic 3-0. A lot of these matches, especially these pool matches, we see a lot of sweeps. We see 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. It's not a lot of contention against the people. Again, we see it with Italy and ROC. Italy won against ROC with leading the pack with their fire outside hitter. And yeah, we have a lot of matches to look forward to, and a lot of matches that I personally look forward to because I love volleyball so much.
Mhm.
But, are there any sports that you have in mind or that you are watching in specific very closely these Olympics?
One sport that I've also been paying a close attention to is also basketball.
Mm,
I think basketball within itself is another highly competitive sport and like another sport even teens actually today look up to as well because it gives them that same effect of that, high adrenaline rush that they love, especially amongst our youth because it's like, of course, because it's like I feel like our youth is highly motivated and energized by this game.
mm,
And so what we've seen throughout the Olympics is not only have there been a lot of highly competitive teams, but a few of like the big major countries that we thought would come out on top actually didn't come out on top. For an example, it's like the USA, which proclaims itself to be like the biggest economy in the world, actually ended up losing to Nigeria.
Bye, Nick. Bye.
Exactly. And so it's like, I mean, like no one expects that. That's kind of like, whoa, that puts things into like a different perspective almost.
Yeah. And also going back to the basketball, the 3x3 basketball, which is fairly new to the Olympics, which is, to be honest, I think taking the Olympics by storm. It is a short game. It's a quick game. There's only three players, and you play to 21 points. And it's a game that many people have played on the street. I definitely have, and it's cool. I think it also gives countries that don't have a lot of spotlight, limelight when it comes to Olympic sports. We have countries like Mongolia competing in 3x3 basketball. We have never seen them before when it comes to full court basketball. So I think basketball is going to be great. Like I said earlier, Nigeria already lost to Australia today, but the U.S. is looks like it's beating France pretty cleanly, but we don't know. It's halftime right now. So when it comes to basketball, yes, we would definitely be watching that and seeing what transpires with that. And then also going over to women's basketball, we have Nigeria obviously facing USA soon, starting on Tuesday, I think. But then we have characters like Sue Bird, for instance, a WNBA veteran, close to her 40s, who had a little bit of backlash, saying that her and a few of her other teammates were seated or were on the court for their national anthem while the majority of their team went inside the locker room or took a knee in protest. In the past, Sue Bird has taken a knee or got inside the locker room with her fellow teammates. A lot of people were saying that it's kind of hypocritical on her part just because of the Olympics or just because she wants to remain anti-political during these games to not take a knee or not go into the locker room with her fellow teammates. What are your thoughts on this? And do you think she's being hypocritical or?
I mean, it's like, as we can tell, there have been a lot of heated tension going on, especially in like this Olympics. As of right now, a lot of hate speech has been taking place. A lot of racial slurs here and there. So I mean, of course, it's like it should alarm all of us. That these actions are being taking place. But I also think it's like it is being stemmed from the pressure coming on from the players. As we know, actually there was a Czech team that was supposed to be competing in the Olympics today, but unfortunately they were forced to go back and return back to the Czech Republic. They couldn't participate in the Olympics because they tested positive for COVID. So
Yeah.
a lot of tears, a lot of drama, all of that like additional pressure that kind of builds up within the team members can potentially spill over and negatively affect not only the team, but how other people perceive them as a team during the Olympics, especially by how the media is covering all of it.
Exactly. I mean, just like you were saying, a lot of people, not only before but during, we have two golfers that were actually kicked out of Tokyo because they tested positive for the coronavirus, so they cannot compete for the USA team. And it's just while this competition is rife with problems and adversity left and right, we do see these athletes pulling through, which is really inspiring. So any thoughts, anything that you want to say about these upcoming Olympics? Any predictions? Anything to get excited about?
I mean, I think we should definitely get excited, not only for teams Nigeria, Serbia, Russia, Turkey, Iran. I think these countries do have like a lot of potential, and they might be able to topple their adversaries as well in the Olympics coming up. Even though this is only day 2, remember there is still plenty of time for other countries to redeem themselves if they haven't been doing so well already. And so this also gives us like more time to be able to receive more insight into the Olympics as of right now, and to be able to come up with more predictions and to see where things will be taking place.
Yeah. Exactly what you said. And I just want to give a special shout out to Claire Curzan. She is going to be competing in the 100-meter butterfly. She is a 16-year-old native North Carolinian who goes to Gibbons, who is just doing her thing, representing not only North Carolina, but Gibbons High School in the Olympics. And I'm extremely proud of her as a native North Carolinian. And as a rival of Gibbons, I never went to Gibbons, but extremely proud of her, and excuse me, and extremely proud of all of our athletes for the USA team, Nigeria, and proud of all the athletes that are going to be competing in these games, and excited to see what they have next. Thank you so much, Jackie, for coming on this IBM TV special coverage of the Tokyo Olympics 2020. And thank you, everyone at home, for tuning in and watching this.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.